Thank you. Welcome, viewers. My name is Kian Wilfred, the regional consultant of the Kenya Centers of Academicians and the Diverse-Oriented Research, KCADOR, Investing in the Brain. This is screencast program TSS8. Today, we are live at St. Patrick's High School, Iten, a school loved by many, admired by many. A school located in Elgeyo Marakwet County, just a few meters from Iten town. This is a school that has great history. You will learn the great history when you read, and when you will find out this is a school that has hosted great men and women. There are many athletes, there are many politicians, there are many leaders in the education industry, and we have so many talented people who have studied from this school. As we can just name a few, Matthew Birir is one beneficiary of this school, Michael Bohit, Charles Chirwot, Kipkoe Chirwot, Cornelius Chirchir, William Chirchir, Ibrahim Hussein, Chavet Kimotai, Wilson Boyd, Wilson Kipketer, Godfrey Kipotich, Michael Kibiego, Christopher Kibiego, Peter Ono, Isaac Songok, among others. You will also realize that the current governor of Elgeyo Marakwet County, Engineer Alex Tolkos, and also the Senator Kipchumba Murkomen are the alumni of this school. This is a great school. As we say, Elgeyo Marakwet is a source of champions. Surely we have, the home of champions. Surely we have this school as a home of champions too. Today we are hosting a program. We are hosting the candidates of St. Patrick's High School and discussing a very important topic. And the topic of the day is why majority of students study so hard yet they fail to master content. Why majority of students study so hard yet they fail to master content. This will be interesting as our viewers will be listening and learning. Our students who may be home for holidays will be watching this program, maybe live from the KCADOR digital television. This will be an amazing program, and we are going to learn there's so many challenges and give solutions for the problems that learners are studying, are experiencing. Before I move further, I just want to introduce my panelists who are here, and I will begin from my immediate right so that we can move towards the left. And Mwalimu, please, let's hear your name and also say something to the viewers.
Good morning. I'm Kibichi Chebi, a teacher at St. Patrick's. We are delighted to host KCADOR today on this program to try and look for solutions of why students study so hard and still fail to master the content. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our host. Let's now listen to Simon.
Thank you so much. My name is Elias Simon. I'm a senior moderator at Kenya Centers of Academicians, and I'm so glad to be here. So excited.
Thank you. And one of our host teachers also.
Okay. My name is Mbishei Motum, a teacher at St. Patrick's. Very happy to host KCADOR on this important topic on why majority of students study so hard yet fail to master content. This is a fact, and as we chat on, I think we will get to unearth quite a number of things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, teachers from our school, St. Patrick's High School, and the moderators from the Kenya Centers of Academicians. And we now want to state the problem of this topic. We say that why majority of students study so hard yet they fail to master content. For the last 10 years, the Kenya Centers of Academicians and Diverse-Oriented Research has been conducting mentorship programs in the various schools. And one very important issue is a fact that study methods and learning styles is a challenge to many learners. Reading culture has become an element in the house. And today we are going to unlock that particular question. The 20-80% rule, where we talk about the parental principle, that most schools, 80% of our schools do 80% to get 20%, while 20% of our schools do 20% and achieve 80%. So 20% doing 20%, achieving 80%, 80% doing 80%, achieving 20%. Now, the question is, where are you? And this is also very practical in the students, that 80% of students in many schools do 80% to get 20%, while 20% of the students also do 20% to get 80%. This will be reflected in the national examination. Every year we receive results, and we realize that the main reason why learners fail in exams is the failure in mastery of content. Before you master content, you must have appropriate learning styles and study methods. We will discuss this as we move bit by bit, eating the frog bit by bit. Before I move further, I want to allow our teachers to just make their comments and maybe tell us whether this is a true statement, the truthfulness of this statement that majority of learners study so hard, yet they fail to master content. I want to listen from Mwalimu to tell us whether this fact is true.
Okay, thank you. The issue about students working so hard and achieving less in class is actually practical and true. Some research somewhere indicate that out of the 100% of students, at least around 75% of them don't do very well, and then maybe 25% do well. So it's a challenge across the board, especially if we go back to our results in KCPE here in Kenya, and the Form 4 results, KCSE, which are released annually, and indicate that a majority of students actually score grades E, D minus, D, D plus, C minus, and even C star, while a minority of students score the A grades, that is the A star, A minus, B plus, B star, and B minus, and the C plus. So it's reflective across the board from primary school to high school. So it's actually a challenge in our schools, and it's a subject which needs discussion to better the study skills of our students, so that to enhance their performance in school school activities, and especially the classwork. Thank you. That's my view.
Thank you so much, Kibichi. And now let's listen to Mr. Motum. Your comments on this?
Thank you. As it has been put, it is true that quite a number of students put a lot of effort in trying to come up with the best way to study, but end up getting very little from the study sessions that they participate in. And this is evidenced by the fact that quite a number of students will always come to seek for advice on how best they can do their studies, and that one tells you that it is a fact that many students have a challenge in internalizing the content, especially after doing their studies. And as it has already been mentioned by my colleague, a number of research has been put forward, showing how best the students can do their studies and how best they can overcome some of the challenges that they go through in the process of doing those studies. So it is the impetus of every student to make sure that they get the best way to do this thing, because at the end of the day, it is them who are supposed to give the best or give good results. So finding that best way to study is a challenge that each student needs to overcome and needs to learn. Maybe learning from the environment, developing their own intrinsic motivation, so that when they move forward to doing their studies, then at least they know, they're in a position to know what they want and how they are going to do to go about it. Otherwise, it's true, it's a big challenge that needs to be handled, so that every child in Kenya can be able to follow that system and come up with the best way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As I listen to our teachers speak, I get to learn that knowledge is important. We need to understand. And as we talk about knowledge, knowledge is, we're asking ourselves, what is it that we are supposed to understand so that we're able to do well, so that we're able to actualize what we have in our minds. Then, when we move on now, and I want to allow Elias Simon to make his comments, as I will also hand over the moderation to him after this. So please, Elias Simon, please take over.
Thank you so much, Dr. for this opportunity. And I tend to agree, just like the other teachers have agreed, that it is true that most of us, because you're speaking to students, we work hard, we study very hard. Like I've heard from other students saying that while I'm in class and the teacher is teaching, I understand. But when I get to the exam room, I forget everything. So I'm also curious, as we get into this discussion, to be able to find out what could be the reason why that happens. And if we find the reason, then we could also be able to find a solution for that. So now that I've been given the chance to be able to moderate, thank you so much, Dr. for the introduction. And thank you to all the students for being part of this discussion. Now, I want to bring to our viewers another group of, because we also have got students who are with us, we also want to hear from them, now that we've heard from the teachers, we also want to hear from the students to tell us if it is really true that these are challenges. You know, they're the ones who are studying, right? So we want to hear from them to hear if it is true. And I'll start from the front. We've got the school president Jacob Odhiambo. So please, is it true that what you're talking about really happens to us as students?
Thank you very much, Dr. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. As you said, I'm Odhiambo Jacob, the school captain. Now, I'm in support of the topic of today, and I would like to thank them for bringing this forward, because in real sense, we as students, we got a lot of challenges, and as the topic states, we can try to say that there are a lot of dynamics of how we approach our studies, but then at the end of the day, we are not succeeding as per what we want. So the topic is very valid, and what I would like to urge my fellow students is that we speak our heart out, and maybe this platform again is gonna help those who are there, who are watching, those who might also be going through this, and maybe providing the solutions as we move forward to our KCSE. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Odhiambo. I want to proceed, not in a specific order, but we've got, just for the viewers to be able to note, we've got like 15 representatives from the whole school, and I'm going to give them a chance to be able to comment, and then after that to be able to move to the larger audience so that you can be able to get more questions. So let me start from this end. You can be able to measure your name and tell us, what do you think about this? As a student, what do you think about this topic we're discussing today? Yes, you can make your comments about the topic. Yes.
Okay, firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Confiance Neyirera. I'm in support of the topic, and actually this is very true because I myself has been a victim of this. Sometimes we try to study so hard, but at the end you get different results as you expected. So this is actually a challenge, and as the doctor said, it is affecting almost 80% of the students in the country. So this is a big challenge, and I hope at the end of this we'll able to gain something that will help us in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Confiance, for your contribution. Let me move to the person sitting right next after Confiance. You can introduce yourself. Tell us your comments about this topic. Why do you think it's happening? Why do you think it's like that?
Thank you very much for this chance first of all, I'm in support of the topic as Christopher Nyakundi Thomas, because we are all victims of the problem. It is not a one guy problem, but even the guy leading in the class is also being affected, because we all put different rates of input to our studies, but the outcome is too low. This is brought by different problems, because we all have different attitudes towards the education. There are some of us, even if we study hard, we know that we have connections and we have businesses, so our concentration will shift from studies to other issues. So I expect that as we are going to raise these issues, let us also come up with appropriate solutions that will enable all the students, even those from the village schools up to national schools, that they may all gain from the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you so much. I want to move a bit faster to the person seated right behind Conference, so you can be able to tell us your name and why do you think, now let's get to the details, according to you as students, why do you think this happens? So tell us your name and give us your thoughts on why you think this is the situation.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Yes. My name is Vaskan Lemanjagi, and I'm in support of the topic because most of us seated here are victims of the problem of putting too much input and getting little output, which means that the efficiency of our study methods is not 100%. And I'll go right into why I think that this happens. My first point is this is happening to us because of our poor reading habits. Most of us, when we are studying, we do not take breaks. That's my first point. We focus so much on taking study hours, thinking that we're working hard, but in the end we don't get the output. Research has shown that reading for more than 1 hour at a go is counterproductive to your studies. And I think that the research also shows that we are supposed to take 15 to 30-minute breaks in our studies for it to be efficient. And that is part of the problem. People also participate in skimming, where you just pass through the notes, where instead of actually reading them, you focus so much on the time you spent reading and not on how much content you have had. And I think this is part of the problem. And my solution to this, I would advise all my fellow students to adjust themselves so that while you're studying, include a break. And I think that it will benefit you in your studies. And also, if schools can be able, they can integrate their timetables to fit in breaks to ensure that the students are able to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution. And for the panelists, I want us to focus on why you think the problem, like why you think it's like that, okay? We'll come back to the solution later on. So let's proceed to the next member. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you think this problem actually exists.
Thank you. My name is Peter Kijape, and I feel honored to be given this opportunity to contribute on, I would rather say, it's some kind of problem that has been there for so long, and if it continues this way, I think measures have to be put in place to ensure that the problem of reading so much and then failing to master content is appropriately dealt with. So research by San Francisco State University in the US of A has shown that 68% of students do put effort in their studies, but then only a meager 19% tend to reciprocate the same when it comes to now doing well in exams. Students just read for exams. Some subjects like sciences and mathematics, they need a lot of internalization for you to be to be able to comprehend questions in exams. You must have internalized that concept and actually personify it so that you can write it in your own way. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to introduce myself by saying I am Sonit Aden. I would like to propose the our heading today about the most of the majority of students work hard yet they fail to pass the exam. First is about having a goal. Most students fail because they have no goal in their studies. Because for something to be called a goal, you should have a deadline and you should have a plan. So something having no plan is, yes, this student work hard. First, we can say this student have a dream, but a dream is just a dream, and a dream to be called a goal should have plan and deadline. So that this student pass exam, they must write down these goals and a goal. So that to be called a goal should have a deadline and a plan. As we move ahead, this a goalless life has no limited time. This student just read ahead. He or she has no deadline that by reaching this time, I should have achieved this one. And by reaching not this time, what I've shared. But these goalless people, students, they have no goal they just read for the sake, as time moves, they have not achieved anything. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
According to Adam, it's because most students have no goals, they have no plans. They just read for the sake of doing it. Is that so?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming here, because actually this is something that has been affecting us as students. I actually agree to the topic because it's actually something that has been for a while, and if not corrected, actually can bring problems even in the future. Okay, first of all, I want to introduce myself by saying that I'm Fabio Lokai, a student Form 4C. Okay, when we come to the topic, saying that students, actually, why majority of them read so much and still fail to pass the examinations or fail to master the content. Actually, when we say that someone is studying hard is through what is actually putting in these examinations. Okay, studies, as per the time is sacrificing and so many other things that maybe can leave out so that to get enough time for his studies. Okay, but when we come to say why actually they don't master the content, we just can't see somebody and just say, actually this person hasn't mastered the content. It's actually through the examinations, whereby we do an exam, and when it's brought back, we see that this person didn't actually get what we expected as per what he had put inside actually. So, according to me, from my point of view actually, I could see that not actually that all students fail to master the concept, but putting or expressing themselves during the examination can be the problem, whereby you have actually read enough, you get this and that, but how you put your answers in the examination actually can be a problem, whereby you try to explain yourself, but because you actually know that I've actually been reading, you can fail to finish reading the questions and rush to answer the questions, bring a lot of troubles and failure to getting the correct answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fabio. So he's saying that sometimes they must hope that my panelists, you're taking notes on this because we come back to you. He's saying that sometimes you may be able to master, but when it comes to expression, you're not able to express yourself. Let's proceed to the next student panelist. Yes, introduce yourself and tell us why you think this actually exists in 1 minute.
I'm Jeffrey James from Popola. Yeah, I think that the topic is true, and I think that getting solutions will be beneficial to us. Well, it's really painful to study so hard, and then during the examination you find yourself forgetting everything. Yeah, I think one of the reasons for this is that sometimes you study, but it's not for yourself. You know, you can find a student studying, being in class, but it's just in class just so that the teacher won't cane him, or so that the other people will see him. Okay, this comes from lack of interest, of motivation from within. Now, there are two types of motivation. There's motivation from outside, the environment, other people, and then there's motivation from within. What you feel, do you want it that much? You know, when you want something that much, you'll work hard for it, but not just hard, you'll work smart. You'll find different ways in order to master content.
Wow. So what Jeffrey is saying is that people lack motivation. They don't study for themselves. They study for the teacher. Well, we'll come back to that. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for that contribution. I'll come back to you. And as to proceed to the next panelist, let's get your thoughts. Please introduce yourself, tell us your name, and tell us why you think this problem actually exists. Because it looks like we're in agreement that all of us, or most of us, face that challenge. Just please proceed.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My opinion on why students study so hard, majority of the students study so hard but they don't master the content is, this is due to pressure and the stress due to the workload given on to them. You find that a student has a lot of work to do or to revise, that he does not manage his time well. He ends up going through the less important issues that he should study. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please make me your name.
I'm Wasike Emmanuel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, and thank you for that contribution. Let me proceed to the next panelist. Please share your thoughts on why you think this problem exists among students.
Okay, first I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity so that we can air our issues through this discussion. First of all, my name is Benson Mitei, and I'm a student at St. Patrick's 10. Yes, I would like to say that my opinion, I would like to agree that it's true that most of the students in this country, they find themselves that they study hard, yet they fail the exam. You can see that my opinion is that this might be because of the problems back at home, back in their home backgrounds. You can see that a student sometimes when coming to school during the opening days, you can see that not all the students, they usually come with the same they have left their homes the same way. You can see that some students, they leave their homes they leave their homes in bad conditions. You can see that maybe the parents are arguing, maybe their relatives, something had happened to their relatives. You can see that when they come to school, they might be focused on studying hard. And when they study hard, you can see that their minds are not really focused on what happens after doing those exams. Their minds will always be focused on what is happening back at home. You can see that these students, in the end of the day, they will not pass this exam because you can see that they are facing a psychological torture. That they cannot tell anyone because this is a private matter back at home. So you can see that these students, I can say that they study hard, yet they fail because you can see of those problems back at home. So I hope that this discussion will be able to help more students in Kenya so that they can achieve their best. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Benson. You spoke about issues from home, and that is very true. Yes, my panelists will be able to agree, but I'll be coming back to the panelists. Please let's proceed to the next student. I think I get so much feedback from this team, and I'm also learning a lot. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you think this challenge exists.
I'm in much support with the topic, and to confirm this, from the recent KCSE results that have been there since the time of Dr. Fred Matiang'i, we've seen in that year only 141 A-stands in the school, in the entire country. And that is truly evident that most students study, because we cannot say that out of about 600,000 students, only 141 were studying. It is evident that most students from different schools across the country were really putting more effort. But when it came to the outcome of the results, it was the opposite. It sounds ironical because it should be the opposite. It should be the opposite way, that when you study hard, you are able to achieve the highest grade. But this one, you study hard, but you fail. I can see this into my first point. I can say that why they fail, most students tend to go for the revision books that give shallow content because they see that the content has been summarized in 2 or 3 lines, a content of almost a page in the books approved by the KICD. So this is so evident. Even me personally, I've used and I've failed. More so in biology, you need to write an essay and you tend to go for the summary work. You know they will never mark the summary. They will mark the actual content.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you.
Your Tom, right?
No, Oliver Odhiambo.
Yes, Oliver. Thank you so much, Oliver. So is below me the syllabus, eh? All right. Thank you so much. We'll come back to that. Please, let's proceed. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you think this exists.
Yeah, I'm very happy to get this opportunity to discuss the issues that really affects us personally. Students, we sometimes, maybe mastering the content is directly proportional to our health. You know, we can't master the content into our heads if our health is a problem. That is the key. So the health is the key matter to mastering the content. So you can get a student can study hard. A student can do all things, can prepare a timetable, can try to read hard, can do the research, but the problem is his health is not well. You can get some of the students, they have some fatal or the chronic diseases, like acute, let me say a disease like acute schizophrenia, or a disease, or maybe a disease that, there's a disease called neurostalgia. That disease affects the brain of a student. So if the brain is affected, it cannot work properly, so the student is prone to fail. It's like a vehicle. You cannot drive a vehicle that lacks an engine. There must be that thing that pushes there must be that effort that is placed on the health of a student. The another thing is about the stigmatization. Let me say, for example, I'm majoring mostly on health because when a student is stigmatized and maybe he has a diabetes or maybe something like a HIV and AIDS, that student will not stay at school well because other students, or maybe the student himself inside, he sees that maybe he will die soon before finishing the school. So that one, it will affect him. The student will not concentrate on the studying, yet he will now start to concentrating on other things, or now he will come out of that problem. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I'm getting so much from these panelists. Let's now proceed to the next panelist. So please introduce yourself and tell us why you think this exists.
Thank you. My name is Kipchumba Meshak. I agree with this topic of today. The main reason why students fail yet they study hard is that maybe they fail to get the first-hand content from the teacher. Secondly, the teacher-student relationship is not that way as way back in primary, where a teacher in class could easily manage and teach the few students in class, as compared to high school, where there are few teachers and large numbers of students. This may cause students to study hard and fail. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now let's proceed to the next panelists. Please share your thoughts. Please mention your name and share your thoughts on this.
My name is Odwor Tom.
Yes, Tom.
And my opinion is more from a psychological perspective than a medical perspective in terms of mental instability. And we can find that a student can be suffering from anxiety or depression, and I think this is something that's been overlooked by both the students and teachers themselves. So these conditions basically interfere with the flow of thoughts when you're studying. They create a barrier that prevents maybe content from getting in or getting out. And sometimes this may not be a barrier. It can be more of a vortex of thoughts, where we see the thoughts getting, the student can't think clearly because the thoughts are just spinning wildly inside his head. So that's my take.
Thank you so much. So he's saying that Tom is telling you that it's more psychological. And now, before I come back to the panelists to be able to get their opinion, because it looks like we are all in agreement that, oh, there's one more. All right. Please introduce yourself and share your thoughts on why you think this problem exists.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. All protocols observed. My name is Ian Klex Mutai. Indeed, very much pleased to be part and parcel of this vital panel discussion. I want to be as brief as possible because of time. So I'm totally in support of this motion. I'm totally in support of the topic because as much as also other people have said it, I've been also a victim of this, where you study so much but you fail to retain the content for the time you expect. You fail to retain the content for a long time that you can even get to the exam and apply the content. So my view on this, or rather my take on this, is because students have taken studies as a routine rather than a necessity. They've taken studies as a routine rather than a necessity, because you wake up in the morning, you go to class, but you're doing it just because it's a routine. You have to be there at 5 and get out of class at 9. So basically, taking studies as a routine, it's not something that should be done by students. So students, let us be focused. Let's study with a rationale, a motive, and an aim, because you can't study without any aim. So let's not take it as a routine, but it should be a necessity because it's something important. You have to study so that you pass exams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now I want to be able to open it for all of us as students, so that we can be able to, before I come back to the panelists, so that we can be able to ask questions. We are the ones who are in class. We are the ones who are supposed to master the content. We are the ones who sit for the exams. So I want to be able to open it for you so that you can be able to get your questions, and
our team here will be able to give their opinion, right? So you can be able to go deeper, you can be able to go down the rabbit hole, get specific on challenges that you are facing concerning this topic. Is that okay? So please, you put up your hand, then you'll be able to give you a chance.
Somewhere there? Okay, thank you so much. Now, I think my question is, we have so numerous revision books in Kenya, and I think it is this is like a business. So how can the government do this so that they can regulate the number of revision books? Because we find out that not all the revision books are up to the standards. So how can they do that so that we can get the books which is up to the standards? Thank you.
There's a question regarding the syllabus. So I want to give this to one of our teachers, Mr. Chabi. Yes.
Okay, thank you. About the revision books, there are so many actually. And I think Kenya being a free market economy, I think the government may not regulate the publishers and the number of books for revision. But I will urge the students to try and use the books which are supplied by government in school and those which are approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, that is the KCADOR. So any other books, you can buy them if you can afford, but we insist on the books which are normally used by teachers to teach in class. The regulation, that one will be difficult because I know the country practices a type of capitalism called free market. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. As my colleague has put it, there are quite a number of books in the market today, and as the student has put it, there are so many students who are tempted to go for those books because one, they could be having some revision questions from maybe past KCSE questions, and so students feel like these books will expose us more to KCSE type questions. And unfortunately, most of these books are shallow, as already it has been put forward. And my advice to students is stick to what the government is giving. And many times before we acquire those books, we look at the books that have been approved by KICD. The list of books is there in the library. You can go to the library, ask for, if it is chemistry form 4, there are around 3 or 4 books that have been approved by KICD. So you can still go there, check them before you pick any revision text to see whether the content is in line with what the syllabus requires us. You need to check on that one there before, so that you don't just get any book and you follow that. We have also noticed that quite a number of books have got a lot of discrepancies. So if you stick to some of them, you may not get the content that is required. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So it's about quality, not quantity. There's a question, there's a hand right there, so I want to give him a chance to be able to ask his question.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is John Wafula. In line with the topic that many students study very hard, but they fail to master the content, my question will be, most of the students, personally, we study very hard and find the courage that you have mastered the content. But when you are asked to apply the content, you find yourself that you are blank, yet you've already gave yourself courage that you have the content.
Thank you so much, Wafula. Now I want to give this chance to Dr. King, the regional coordinator for Kenya Centers of Academicians, and you got the question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Simon, for this, and thank you so much, one of our students, for asking this question. This question is a center of all the problem that we are actually discussing today. That why is it that sometimes you feel as a student that you've mastered content, yet when you are asked questions, you realize that you do not have the content. Or actually, I've had students even asking questions like, immediately I study, I think I have understood, but at the end of the day, when I reflect about the same, I do not have the content in my mind. I would want to liken the mind like with a store. I want to have you to have the way you imagine the way we put things in a store. Or actually the way we put things in the logger. Sometimes I've called it the allegory of the student logger, whereby we put so much in the logger, and we even cannot locate where a certain textbook is in our logger. You just put everything there, and when it comes to time for maybe study, the teacher comes and wants you to write notes, maybe specific notes in some subject. You realize that you cannot get that book because of the way you put the book there. Sometimes you cannot find even a pencil because the way you've stored your materials there is in a very confused manner. What I'm trying to say is we have a way of studying. There is a method. There is a way a student is supposed to study. For example, when you begin your studies, first of all, you must understand why you are studying. I've seen that many learners study for exam. You read because you want to achieve excellence in examination. So that means your studies will only focus on mastering content for you to succeed or achieve success in questions that you will be asked. But that should not be the reason why we should study. We should study for a bigger reason. We should study to master content for its own sake. For example, I know that I want to become, my main aim in life or in school is to become a medical doctor. I am studying because so that I get content, so that when the time comes and I'm a medical doctor, I have content, I have information, not just because of examination. And that is the reason why you've seen so many young people cheat in examination, because their main aim was to pass in examination. Reason for studying, our main aim for studying should not be exams. Then I say now, I would now want to continue and say, we have to study, have a method. We should have a way of doing. For example, some students go through the pages, through the whole text or maybe the whole content without reflection. At some point, you need to reflect about the content that you are studying. Some, you need to stop and put the book aside. That one I've called the Socratic way of reading, whereby we put the book aside and even reflect about what we are reading. Ask ourselves the question, am I really getting what I am reading? Because when you go through the pages and you are done and you leave, surely information will not remain in your mind. So the thing is, we have to be asking ourselves questions every other time. As I move from one chapter, paragraph to another paragraph, I should be asking myself questions. And I've said many times that the students who ask most of the questions most of the time will soon outsmart most of the students who answer most of the questions most of the time. The student who asks most of the questions most of the time will soon outsmart most of the students who answer most of the questions most of the time. This is to say that when we begin asking questions, we begin to understand what we are doing. When we begin asking ourselves questions, we interrogate ourselves, especially as you do the studies. Ask yourself, what is this that I'm doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And that one you will master content. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You now realize that there is a study method, actually. There is a study method, and there is asking questions. Most of us study just for the sake of studying. I want to take another question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this privilege, for this opportunity at this time. So, my name is Kipkulei Kelvin. I'm a student at St. Patrick's. So, I had this question. Now, there's this changing of marking styles by the teachers and even the marking of the KCSE. You find that this year they mark this way, and then the following year they mark another way. So, failure of the students to know the areas that are needed by the markers or needed to be grasped so that they may pass. So, I would like this panel to answer my question. Which the concepts which we must understand basically in each and every topic. So now the teachers should tell us the marking styles. There should be brief sessions for the teachers to tell us the marking styles that are needed for us to pass our examinations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelvin.
Okay, thank you, Kelvin, for the question that you have raised. It is true that a number of times when marking KCSE, some concepts will tend to change. Maybe the way we shall accept an answer this year may not be the same as we accept another year. Now, that one, notwithstanding, does not negate the fact that particular concepts have to remain. And so my advice to a student is that whenever you are doing your studies, please tailor your studies to be in line with what the syllabus requires you to study. So it is important that often you make sure you get the objectives of the topic. If you have got to study a topic like electrochemistry, get the objectives of that topic, so that as you do your studies, confine yourself within the parameters of that topic. Many times you will find students who are doing their studies and they are learning concepts that are outside that topic, so they will not be asked. So it's important that you confine yourself within what the syllabus requires. So get to know the objectives of every topic in every subject. When you do that, you will find that you will always be on the right. You will give the right answers. And as it has already been put, the way you are going to write those answers will also matter. Sometimes you can convince yourself that I've written an answer, but the way you have put it down may not earn you the maximum marks for that question. So as you say, it is important that teachers must get more close to the students to show them these objectives and show them the way of answering these questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon, and the student who asked the question. I am interested in contributing to that because I've had many students asking me that it's looking like the teachers who set the questions know what the areas I've studied because they set the areas that I don't understand. They avoid the areas that I understand. So the question is, the examiners, the information that we need, the appropriate information, I would say that we do not expect that the national examination should be set the same way every year because realize that it is a test. It is a test that the examiner, the person who is setting this exam, is also challenging you. Is also finding something like giving a challenge so that somehow you may fail. You see, we are also looking for people to fail so that not all of them will join the university. We want to avoid, what about when we give you questions that all of you are going to pass? Then it means everyone will go to the university. Everyone will become a medical doctor. Everyone will become an engineer. We want to bring in a challenge and change the challenge every year so that majority of the students who will not understand what is happening will fail. That is life. It's always a competition. It's always a challenge bringing another challenge, every other challenge, another challenge. Now, but of course, as a serious student and a serious school, usually we understand that we have examiners. And we make use of these examiners. We invite these examiners to our schools. We even have our examiners in our schools. We should make use of them. We must ask them questions. We must also use the revision programs well that we have in our schools because during revision programs, you can always revise papers for previous years and then go and check how they were answered and how the answers have been provided. Then as a student, as a clever student, you will not miss to answer the questions well. Realize that every other time we have so much challenges. We have the coronavirus. We have had issues with maybe, I don't know which issues. There are always students who will do well in examination. Despite the challenges, there are always students who will get A's. There are always students who will go to the university. So what we are saying is, when you are clever, when you know what is required, when you know how to find the information, finding out problem is an issue in most of the learners. We say when you find, you will get a solution. But when you're not finding, when you're not asking questions, when you're not looking out before the examination comes, that is where the problem is. So you can always succeed so long as you are asking the right questions and asking the right people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's like there's no excuse for not mastering content. There's no excuse, right? Now I want to take two more questions. Yes, there's a hand there, and then one more hand. Yes, from here. So I'll take those two more questions, then after that we'll be able to continue.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Victor Kemutai. Victor Kemutai.
Yes, Victor.
And my question is so simple. Why is the unnecessary content is easy to master, but the required one is not? It's a challenge to us.
Oh, that's a good question. Why is the unnecessary content? I want to give this chance to Mr. Chibi to be able to share his thoughts. Why is the unnecessary content easy to master?
Thank you. To answer that question, the unnecessary information is easy to answer because in the setting of an exam, they follow what they call a scheme based on somebody called Bloom's. So knowledge is classified in levels that there is comprehension, and then there is analysis, there is synthesis, evaluation. So as you go higher towards evaluation, that is where most of the marks will come from, and analysis. And that is what is done in our science, in math, in language. But in most of the time, in our humanities, we have application is the main knowledge tested. You apply what you learn to answer the questions. So most of the time you see the questions which are easy to answer is about definition. It's about defining a rule in physics, for example. That is recall. That is remembering. So it is easier. And it is normally given very few marks. So the application part, the analysis part, and the evaluation part is what takes a lot of marks, and it is what hands you most of the marks. And then back to Kipkulei's question about the marking of KCSE, why it keeps on changing. It actually doesn't change. Some rules change, yes, but maybe Mr. Mbishe has given you a very valid answer that you need to be looking at the objectives of every topic. And therefore, when you do the objectives of the topic, then you have answered all the questions about that topic. Apart from that, you can also learn the keywords used in examinations. When they say explain, explain, define, name, all that kind of thing. So you must know what the responses are required for every keyword. And then you also must know the simples. The simples used like in science, especially chemistry, physics, and biology. They use a lot of simples. And if they use those simples and you don't update yourself or have the grasp of those simples, then it is likely that those are some of the things we change. But to be a student who is not affected by those changes, please know your grammar, the grammar rules, that is the punctuation, the writing rules, and the presentation of paragraphs in case of writing essays, writing compositions, writing inshaas. If you know those things, then the changes of the rules of marking will never affect you because that is what they mark. And then use, back to what was mentioned by one of us, the use of the right books, the right material. Consult your teachers about how a certain question needs to be approached, and specifically by using the books which have been approved by the Ministry of Education and the KICD. And lastly, know how to apply knowledge. Most of the time we are given a lot of things, but we learn a lot of things in class, but the objective is not to remember what you are given. The objective is to apply the knowledge you are given to solve some problems which are presented in form of questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Most of us have talked about the students studying so hard, but they fail to master the content. So my question is there a way we can have people I would like to call academic expertise, so that people who can do deep research and know and tell us that there are different types of students, so that we don't generalize and say that, for example, in 2017 there was a research that was done and it found out that reconstruction method is the best way of studying. And I believe this is not for every student, though they generalize and say that reconstruction is the best. Reconstruction is whereby I learn something and tell, like my friend here, Nyakundi, I tell him whatever I have learned so that it sticks in my mind. But is there a way now the research can deepen, so that we know that, because there are different types of people. There are sanguines, there are phlegmatics, there are cholerics, and there are also melancholics. For example, a sanguine is a type of temperament where a person is an extrovert, you see. So that a person is extrovert will be able to participate in a group discussion very well, rather than a melancholic who is a person who is very introvert. He likes to keep things for himself or herself. So I don't expect the two to have the same reading method. So my question is that, is there a way we can find, the research can find that we know that this works for student A and not student B. And if student B does this, he will not succeed. This is the method for only student A, you see? So we can even do aptitude test, or aptitude test. Yes.
Sure.
So that was
thank you so much. Dr. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a very interesting question, and I would just want to assure you that you need to just finish your high school studies, join the Kenya Centers of Academicians and Diverse-Oriented Research as a mentor and mentee at the same time. And immediately you are done with the university, please consider becoming a mentor in the research industry. That is why we talk of the Kenya Centers of Academicians and Diverse-Oriented Research. And that is very interesting. We say that before you understand math, you must understand yourself. Before you understand geography, that is the world, before you learn physics, before you learn anything else like language, first of all, it is important to understand who you are. This is interesting, and it is important to begin from ourselves, understanding ourselves. The process of success begins from learning who we are. And we talk about personality and career inclination test, PCIT, personality and career inclination test. When you understand yourself, then you understand what you are and who you are. Then when you understand that, then therefore, you can now decide on the appropriate study methods that you need to understand. Maybe I should begin like this, because this is very important, that all of us want to go to school, are going to school and are studying in school. Our parents are sponsoring us, our teachers are teaching us because they want us to achieve success in our careers, to achieve excellence and the careers of our choices. But before we achieve excellence in careers, first of all, we must do well in examination. Before we do well in examination, we have to master content. And before we master content, we have to have a learning style. And before we have a learning style, we must have a study method. And before we have a study method, we must understand who we are by doing what you call personality and career inclination test. Then you can understand the person who you are. For example, we talk about the learner types. For example, as he asked the question, are there specific learner types or types of people which we can now relate with mastery of content? Yet it is true. For example, we talk about the audio learners. We talk about the visual learners, the tactile learners, the analytic learners, and the global learners. If I explain about this, I can take the whole day. But it is important for you as a student to understand whether you are global, analytic, tactile, visual. So that when you are, for example, analytic, tactile, then I understand the appropriate methods that I should follow as a student. As we say, you have to follow something. You can never succeed until you follow something. That's why we have said focus, follow one course until successful. So how can you succeed when you are not following anything? You have to follow something, for example, a method. But this method should be in line with your personality. And that is why we say 40 learners in a class cannot study the same way. And that is the major reason now why students study so hard, yet they fail to master content because they study the same way. Because they copy other students the way they study. When I see a student who is doing well in math, I copy their method, not knowing that I am different from that student. So we have to invest in learning styles. We have to invest in understanding who we are, so that when we understand who we are, then we apply the methods of study to ourselves. A specific method of study that has worked for majority of learners is the Socratic method. Socratic method that is based on the Pareto principle. And of course, we talk about Socrates used to say, the only thing I understand is that I know nothing. The only thing I know is that I know nothing. And we should begin from there, understanding who we are, asking the necessary questions so that we can now answer that question. I will request that this panel, we can have another chance another time, where we can now discuss deeply on the specific learner types and the appropriate study methods. Is that okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Viambo, you have a question. So we'll take two more questions. It's question and one more question. I'll be able to bring it back to the panelists to be able to sum it up.
My question. So many students here have asked about, they were speaking of reading, I mean, when maybe the exam timetable is on, or maybe when the exams are near. Now, in line with mastering content, I hope I'll not be out of the topic. But seriously speaking, if we have to look at other things in details, maybe I'm going to support someone saying like, we study to pass exam. Because actually, people have different things that they want to do in life. Or maybe I'm seated here, I want to be a lawyer. But then I ask myself, like, there are so many concepts, there are so many things to study, there are so many things to master for me to master that content. I mean, the curriculum, whatever it says, you know, I'll get demoralized because I will start saying, like, for example, in Kiswahili, I will ask myself, what will shamirisho, things to do with jinsi ewa inazuiliwa, how will that, I mean, affect my career? How will it benefit me as an individual? So maybe this is a question, like, it may be demoralize others. Like me, I keep asking myself that question again. Because other things are extremely out of topic, out of my giant career. So maybe if you're going to answer me that, I hope I'm not wrong.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adhiambo. I want to give this chance to Mr. Michel.
Thank you. It is true. Most students have that notion that some subjects may not be necessary for the career I wish to undertake in life, or some particular areas may not be necessary. Well, that may be true once you have started working on your career, maybe like after you have joined college. But for you to join that college, you require that content now. So it is imperative that as much as you may not want it, for you to fill up the cluster points, the cluster requirements, you need that subject. You may want maybe something like you want to become a doctor. So one language, perhaps English, and maybe chemistry, biology may be very necessary for you. And right now, you could be doing maybe computer studies. So to you, you feel like this computer studies is not necessary for me. I may not really need to learn something about how to format a page or something like that, because I'll be dealing with the drugs or something like that. But at the end of the day, you require that subject for you to fill up your cluster points. So I want you to remove completely from your mind the idea that some subjects or some areas may not be necessary for you now. You need those things for you to fill up what is required for you to join the university. If by mistake you start negating those areas right now, then you start specializing on your subjects, you end up missing the university cluster or cut-off points that you require. So as much as possible, train yourself to know that what is being offered for you today, being offered to you, is necessary and you need it, consume it, because that is what will take you to the university. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wish you continue. I wish you'd be able to continue, but it looks like you have to come back for another session. But let me take one more question.
I'm Stephen. Now my question was, are there skills that you people can share with us which will enable us during the examination to remember the content we need?
Thank you so much. Are there tips that this panel can be able to share with us as students so that you can be able to increase, we can be able to remember more during the examination? Is that the question? So now I want to be able to give this chance to the panelists. I will start with Mr. Kibichi. And as you give your comments, as you answer that question, you'll also be able to, we're also wrapping up, so please answer that question and also give your general thoughts on this one.
Thank you, Stephen. About tips on recalling content for examinations, one proven method which has been researched, it has been written, is one, you make things simple. Make the things you learn simple. That is, in primary school, we used to be taught on how to remember the colors of the rainbow. There used to be some acronym on remembering that. So try to form your own acronyms on issues which are being taught in class. In CRE, for example, when they are teaching about Jesus and the Good Samaritan, try to work with the teacher in your brain. Imagine you are in that area when Jesus was was walking this world, and work with the teacher. Even in history, make it alive. Okay, visualize everything, and then things will be visualized and even dramatized in your mind what is going on in class. That will help you. Evaluate yourself. I think that has been mentioned by Dr. Kieng. Whenever you read material After reading about the objectives, you do the quiz after the topic. That is, you evaluate yourself. You try and recall, what have I really learned? Have I achieved what I wanted to learn in the objectives? And then you celebrate what you have achieved. And then third, admit that you don't know. And you begin to consult from friends and even from teachers. It will work. It is okay not to know. Most students assume that not knowing is shameful. Not knowing is embarrassing. No, it's okay. I mean, nobody has ever been hanged for not knowing. So it is better to ask, console your friends, console your teachers, and things will be easy. And then lastly, understand. Understand yourself. Understand your body. When are you tired? When do you have the mood you want to read? You read. When you are tired, go for a break. I think that was talked about by Sonit so much. And understand your body. Understand the time you achieve more. Is it during the morning? Is it during the evening, during the day, or in the night? So just understand yourself. That is what I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mwalimu. I want to give this chance to Mr. Bishay. But before I give him, maybe Odhiambo have got something to say? All right. So we'll hear from Odhiambo, then we'll be able to come to as your concluding remarks, please.
As we come to the end of the topic, my take, I would like to say, like, the topic is quite well, and for those who are watching, I know there are information that as an individual maybe will change your life or your tactics as you further your studies. But again, in my point of view, I would like to say that as the government try to bring in another curriculum of the CBC, I think as a student who have gone through all these challenges that other students have been going through, I would like to comment, like, support maybe the CBC, that it gonna help individuals, because in accordance to my point of whatever I was speaking about, like doing something yet you see it will not benefit you. As we have discussed all these points, so many students, I know they have that attitude, but in the line with the CBC, it will really help, because it is a dynamic. As we are here, so many people fail. So many people fail. But when that kind of thing, like I want to study this and I want to do that, I think it will take our country to the next level and also helps individuals to realize. Because in the century that we are in, I think there is need for a particular person as an individual to take one thing, because there has been a diverse improvement. And now that improvement, in terms of now that there is a lot of technology and whatever, we can come up with ideas in accordance with that studies of the CBC and invent things that will take our country to the next level, so that maybe we can also match the others, rather than studying and knowing at the end of the day, I may still not succeed. So that's my point.
Thank you so much, Bwana President. And from that, we'll be able to move to our teachers. We'll give you a closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time that you have taken to allow us to discuss this issue. Maybe what I would like to point out is the secret behind successful study is all about you as a student. There is no magic, there is no shortcut. There is no way you can say that I'll just sit down and wait for some tips, 1, 2, 3 tips on how I can do best. It's all about you. It's about your focus. It's about the time you spend. It's about what really interests you. As much as, for example, we are interested with soccer, And within a team that is not even in Kenya, we can list down all the players. We can even know the games they have played and what games are coming in ahead for that team. It's about the interest. Once you develop interest in something, you will always put yourself in a position where you will internalize that thing. If you develop interest in biology, if you develop interest in mathematics, just as much as we develop interest in what we want, there is nothing that will stop you from knowing that content. Everything will fall into line. And when you do that, when you learn to do that, try as much as possible to do what scares you the most. There are things students fear in life. Waking up at 4. Most students fear that. Spending more time, especially, for example, over the weekend, when 80% of the time is spent in playing and running up and down. If you learn to minimize that, learn to overcome the urge to go and spend your time in things that may not really add a lot of value to you, put them down somewhere. You will find that as you overcome those things, you learn to create interest in what you want. There is no shortcut, like I've said. Of all the points that we have noted here, more than 15, I think we will find time, put them down and disseminate them back to you so that you can also see that, plus some suggested solutions. But at the end of the day, the solution is in you. It's about you creating that interest. It's about you knowing your focus. It's about you knowing what you want to do. And moving forward, it's you who is supposed to pass. There is no shortcut on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Bishay, for that contribution. And I want to hand over the microphone to Dr. Kien so that he can be able to give his concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this very important discussion. And Brian Tracy says that if you have an assignment to eat 2 frogs every morning, one beautiful and another one is ugly, you need to begin with the ugly one first. If your assignment is to take or eat 2 frogs every morning, then you need to begin with the ugly one first. And so the ugly one is what we are discussing about today. What are we supposed to do? And there are only some suggestions I want to make. Number 1, we have to understand, first of all, ourselves. Secondly, understand the appropriate styles that are suitable for someone like you. And thirdly, I would say that there are 3 very important things. Read, understand, and present. Read, understand, and present. Reading to understand means reading between the lines. Serious reading, focusing on what you want, getting to understand what is required of you, and then finally, presentation. And I would want to urge you candidates to really present as many times as possible through the word of mouth. The Socrates says that there is no point of you claiming understanding, yet you cannot present what you have understood by word of mouth. There is no need for you to claim understanding when you cannot present what you have understood by word of mouth. If all students would do presentations so many times during the day, I believe that no student will not master content. So understand the methods. And as we finish this, I just want to say that most of the questions that do not appear in national examination, we will meet those questions when we get out of school. Sometimes we feel that some information is not necessary for us. For example, one of us has cited a very good example in some areas in Kiswahili. Some of us were in school 20 years ago, and sometimes we thought certain areas are not important, but when we finish high school, we realized that all those questions were coming to us. And there is something very important I want to state, that the national examination do not just test master of content and maybe your understanding on the area. There is also something else. You are being nurtured and mentored and prepared to attain some skills, specific skills. For example, every question is testing something. There are 5 areas. When you talk about the Bloom's taxonomy, we have the knowledge, the comprehension, application, synthesis, and evaluation. As a student,
the examiners, the person asking you the questions will always test for something. For example, they may give you to answer a certain question from a certain area just to test a certain skill. Not necessarily that area will help you in future when you become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. But it is testing a certain skill in you so that you can develop that skill, and in future you become a better lawyer, a better engineer, a better teacher, a better human being, a better husband for that matter. You become somebody who is reliable in the society. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, members, for panelists, for being part of this discussion. I also want to thank our audience, our student panelists as well, for taking your time to be able to be involved in this discussion. I hope it was helpful. I'm sure that there are many questions that maybe most of you have. We weren't able to answer those questions. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching us. Until next time, be of good cheer.
My name is Peter Kijape. I'm a Form 4 student at St. Patrick's High School Iten. And today we've had a very fruitful discussion with courtesy of the KCADOR. And we want to thank them so much. The discussion has been of very great help. We talked about a lot of things. You know, we've had these problems with students reading a lot and yet failing to master content. But I think with some of the remedies that were provided by the regional coordinator, with his colleague, and with our teachers, and also contributions from students, all I can say is that it was really fruitful. And thank you again.
Hello everyone, my name is Ian Klex. I'm a student in Form 4 in St. Patrick's National School Iten. I would like to take this great opportunity to thank the KCADOR team. They have done an excellent work, an excellent job in coming to our school and impacting in us the necessary skills and the necessary information that we need as candidates. We also are indeed of great importance in the society because we are the youth and we are the face of the nation in the near future. So let us continue to subscribe to this channel, subscribe to listening to their content and everything they tell us. So because it is actually a channel that myself I can't wait to go see, I can't wait to go look at their content and everything because it is of great importance. So the KCADOR team, I'd like to thank you, and also viewers back at home, continue being of help to this channel. I thank you and thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Odhiambo Jacob Owin. I would like to take this opportunity to give my gratitudes to the KCADOR team who have managed to spend time with us as students of St. Patrick's. It's quite a great honor and we really appreciate. Now my message is now that we have achieved a lot in that topic of discussion of today. And even I'm very optimistic that next time maybe you will come back again to our school with a different point that will be able to make students learn a lot and also diverse their mind, open their minds. And so maybe because the opportunity we have in St. Patrick's, I will also request or suggest, if possible, that every single Kenyan out there get this opportunity as well, because we have really, as personal, in my personality, I've really gained a lot, and this is also part of if not integrity, you learn a lot from this and nurturing whatever we wanna be. Now it also exposed others to the courage that we need, maybe as individuals in future we also need. So thank you very much, and may God bless you, and those who are watching, to subscribe, and we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. My name is Kieng Wilfred, the regional consultant of the Kenya Centers of Academicians and Diverse-Oriented Research. We call it KCADOR, where we invest in the brains. Today we are live at St. Patrick's High School, E10. We've had a very interesting discussion and discussing about the reason why majority of learners study so hard yet they fail to master content. This is a program all over our schools. 80% of our schools are suffering from this problem. It is like the cancer in our schools. Reading culture problem is the issue. This is the elephant in the room. And today we have eaten the frog bit by bit. It's just the beginning, and I believe that other schools will follow the same. Will be able to participate in such kind of programs so that we can be able to help students master content. It's been very interesting. I want to thank the St. Patrick's High School for the amazing level of discipline that they have displayed, the teachers, the support from the principal, the support from the teachers, and all of us. It's been very interesting, and thank you so much. This is really great.
Okay, thank you. Today's program on why students put in a lot of effort but get very little in terms of results was very interactive, very nice for students, and our students must have benefited from the discussions, and especially those who are watching online and those who may watch later through the YouTube. Hope that they will learn a lot of things on how to approach the content in school and achieve more by putting in more effort and also even knowing and understanding themselves as they study. So we really thank KCADOR, the organization headed by Dr. Kieng, for visiting our school and highlighting our students on the new media, that now these things happen quite easily online, and it is what we want our students to achieve too. So thank you, KCADOR, for coming to our school. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really want to thank KCADOR for the program that they have launched, moving from one school to another, trying to see some of the problems that are affecting learners. It's very important that we all learn and support KCADOR in this process, because they are doing a wonderful thing. Because many students will learn a lot of things from this and know what is actually expected of them. The more KCADOR rolls these programs, a lot of students will benefit, because this is something that will be placed on YouTube, and so quite a number of students, whether they were the ones in the panel or outside, they will also benefit a lot. So something that these are challenges that we always come across in school while teaching and all that. So KCADOR is coming as a friend and as a partner, because they are really helping us to solve one or two issues that are affecting learners. In fact, in a forum like today, for 1.5 hours, they have solved quite a big problem that was really affecting us as a school. So we want to appreciate KCADOR for this effort, and at the same time urge other schools, other students outside to embrace what KCADOR is giving, or the suggestions they are giving, so that they can actually maximize their performances. Otherwise, the program was nice. I really want to appreciate you. Thank you so much.